And just a little talk with Jesus makes me whole. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him all about our troubles. He will hear our faintest cry. Answer by and by. Feel a little prayer will turn him, no little fires.
Fix me, Jesus, fix me, Jesus, fix me. And I want to thank Ms. Ann for everything she does for the Historical Society. I mean, so much about her work goes unnoticed, and I am so grateful to know her, and I love her very much. I want to take a moment, too, to recognize the full committee for today's event, Ms. Nancy Kirby, and Ms. Pamela, and Alina, who is on camera. And let's get to it. So I'm going to introduce the panel today. On the panel are the descendants of Richard and Sarah Allen, Dr. Richard Lawrence, Dr. Nicole Studevin, Sister Yvonne Studevin, and Mr. Craig Burnley. And moderating the panel today is Reverend Carolyn Cavanagh, pastor of Mother Bethel AME Church, of course. And I hope everyone is as excited as I am to hear from them today. And I'll pass it along to Reverend Cavanagh.
Let's give it up for Sister Asia. And we also are going to add Christopher, Ann Burnley, and Mr. Harold Burnley. All right, so come on up to our panel here. We can use.
Wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself. So just again, if you could share your names with us and your professional career, anything you'd like for us to know. And then we have a few questions. And then also, if you do have a question from our audience here, if you would be so kind to maybe just write it down, or we will ask, so that way you can raise your hand and then we'll acknowledge. So we'll start with Dr. Richard.
Good afternoon. Dr. Richard Lawrence. I
Can't hear you. Okay.
I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally, I'm going to say this the last day I get to say it. I'm from the home of the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Craig Burnley, and I am a telecom engineer. I'm also a certified marksmanship instructor. I was the president of my local National African American Gun Association 2 years ago, as well as a Toastmasters president for Toast of Calm Club in Atlanta. And so I feel like it's great to be out here with you guys, and I look forward to meeting you guys and hearing about you as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Harold Burnley. I am an electrical contractor, along with my youngest son, Chris. We service the Delaware Valley area, and we live right here in Delaware County, Yate, Pennsylvania. So we're available to go down there.
Good afternoon. I'm Vivian Yvonne Studevin. I go by Yvonne. I'm a retired school administrator. I live in Athens, Georgia. In my retirement, I've spent the last 26 years researching and documenting my ancestry to Richard Allen. I enjoy traveling around the country and out of the country, speaking about the history of the AME Church and Richard Allen and Sarah Allen. And I am an artist. did the portrait of Richard Allen over there. And I'm having an art show in April, so come to Georgia.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Nicole Studevin, and I am a physical therapist serving children from 3 to 22 years old in public schools in the Northeast Georgia region. I am also a foster to adopt parent, and I like to get out and start to public speak a little bit more and more.
Hello. I am Christopher Burnley. As my father said, I am also an electrician right from this area here, Lansdowne, East Lansdowne area. We do, obviously, electrical systems and high-end technical troubleshooting and things of that nature.
And security.
And security systems.
All righty, well, let's give it up for them. Thank you for sharing a little bit with us. I want to ask this question of Sister Yvonne and Brother Harold. When did you first become aware or the acknowledgement that you were an Allen descendant?
Children. Yeah, we were children.
I think we were sort of born into our grandmother telling us. Oh, is it not on?
You got to tilt it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. When I was a very little girl, I used to come here with my grandmother. And do you know how AME people put children on the stage and in front of the pulpit? And I was on this stage as a little girl. I remember I wore a navy blue Easter coat. We had a little Easter parade across the stage. I don't know if you still do that or not, but that is still in my mind. There were many activities here my grandmother would bring me to.
I'm so much younger, I don't remember any of that.
But my great uncle Corbin used to tell us a story.
Oh, yeah.
And he used to say, Richard Allen didn't take no stuff, wasn't scared of nothing neither, wasn't born to be no slave, and didn't stay one either. They would tell us stories.
I remember visiting this church many years as a child, but as I said, I'm so much younger than my sister, I don't remember what was of it.
Only 6 years.
For the next generation, when I ask the same question, how is that history being, how is it passed down, or even I'll ask this, when you have shared with someone, I am a descendant of Richard Allen, what has that response been like, or have you been in a place of having to inform or to educate? So for that next generation, when I ask the 8th generation, any thoughts on that?
I think for me, when I was younger, I went to private school, so it was a frustrating experience for me. Hearing the history of Europeans and royalty, and not hearing any African American history. So, fortunately, I had my Aunt Catherine Dobbins. She introduced me to the history of Richard Allen, and she brought forth my love of learning about history.
For me, I learned about Richard Allen by going to my grandparents' house and seeing artwork of him in the living room and just asking questions. And it was a point of pride to find out that we were related to someone with such a rich legacy and someone who was responsible for serving so many other people in the community. And it's a point of pride now as well, because it's something to live up to. It really makes me want to get out and put out my best work.
For me, I think just like then, we kind of heard about it growing up and kind of knew about it. I think my aha moment, though, was when I was at Florida A&M and we took Black history classes, and it was the very first time that it was ever mentioned, and that kind of clicked, especially when my friends were coming up and says, your relatives are in the history book. It didn't realize until I think that moment that it was significant enough for our people to actually be in history books.
I think for me it was growing up and traveling throughout the area as a younger man, and hearing the name in the neighborhood, hearing the neighborhood, the name, and then learning about your history and your heritage, and then talking to people, and then being able to elaborate and give them more history, and it's more than what most people have heard in the neighborhood and in traveling and passing.
Thank you. So let me ask this. Are there any Allen family traditions that you can point, or food, or, I don't know, I mean, you talked about artwork on the walls, but are there just things that we can maybe talk about that have been passed down through the generations that really hold together the family?
Some of us have artifacts. That's amazing. Some of us have in our home some of the artifacts of Richard Allen, which is sort of special. People come in, they want to see it, and that's special.
What are some of the artifacts you have, if you don't mind?
I have a brass, like teapot, that's actually on a stand. And I remember as a kid playing with it, not knowing its significance.
You did.
Okay, throw me under the bus.
That's what you do with a brother, right? Okay, let's see.
Speak into the mic.
Yeah, straight into it. Just straight into it. On.
How do things relate?
Traditions of the family, or
Traditions of it.
Okay, so
artifacts?
I guess mainly my grandmother would tell us things, and we would look at the brass pot she had on her fireplace. And then she had the brass pot that you have downstairs, she had in the fireplace. And then Sarah Allen's trunk was at my great aunt's house. And so they would tell us about these things and who Richard and Sarah were. And I remember my grandfather would say, when you walk out this house, you carry our name, and we expect you, and then they would tell us how we were supposed to behave. So I think it was just always preached to us when we were younger.
And some of us behave better than others.
I think the one thing to me is that as we learned more about how our family is connected through relatives, and learning that, oh, she was a barber and he was a barber and that person was a barber, and they were singers and they were musicians and they were musicians and they were educators and their parents were educators and their parents were educators and they were preachers and they were preachers and they were preachers and artists and they were artists and they were artists, and how it kind of matriculates through each generation, and that we are still doing the exact same things. It's like, you know, this is how we give, and this is how we give. And just to kind of tie it back to what my mother just said about the trunk, it's little things like the trunk was so important to her, but then when she went off to camp, her grandmother had given her a trunk. And then when I went off to camp, she redid it and she gave me the trunk. And when my oldest daughter went off to camp, I redid it and gave her a trunk. So it's just like the little things that kind of go down through each generation.
Yeah, same thing. Like what you're referencing, like the trades and different things that have gone down our family. You can still see it every day in every generation. You look into the children are all artists, and we all have some form of art in our blood, and it comes out in different mediums. It comes out in different ways through our family. You can still see all the traits of things, and even being able to go through and look at the photos we have in our houses and seeing the physical attributes of our family passed down the line through our family and through the history of our family. It's always been around.
For that last point, we can see that right now. I mean, to see no, really, I mean, it's very, and I also think about, Ms. Yvonne, when you shared this with me, in fact, I need to pull it out. Reverend Christian, Ms. Mack, get it. You told me that your favorite lithograph of Richard Allen is in Men of Mark.
yes.
And I'll bring that book out. It's a compilation, I believe, of men of color that were of a certain echelons. And so he is there. And when you shared that, I went and found it on eBay. So it's called Men of Market. We'll pull it out of my office. But the stature and also something about your cranium frame, right? There's something that trait being, and then Mr. Harold, they say that you pretty much are a good likeness of Bishop Richard. That's what I heard. You've heard that. Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was a little girl, I would go to my grandmother's house. She was blind, and my job was to go over and make sure that the gas wasn't on and see if she needed anything. And one day, I think I was about 11 or 12 years old, and just beginning to like boys, and then you know how you look at yourself and you start talking about all the things that you didn't like about yourself. So one day I was sitting there and talking to my grandmother, and I said, I just hate my forehead. I just hate my nose. The big old hook of my nose, and it's long, and I just hate my cheeks. And then I looked at her, and she had the same nose, she had the same forehead, she had the same cheeks. And then when she pulled out the pictures of Richard and Sarah and the other children, I looked just like them. I shut my mouth up. I love my nose, I love my forehead, and I took away my bangs so I wouldn't have to cover it up.
So let me ask this, something you just touched on and want to, you all have a history of Richard Allen. Have there been any new insights around his life, or, because he is a very researched individual. I mean, we have Richard Newman's book, and Dr. Newman does say hello to Mother Bethel. His Apostle of Freedom is actually being reissued in honor of the semi-quincentennial, actually in a couple of weeks. Also, I think about, he has a postage stamp, Richard Allen. There's Richard Allen Avenue, Richard Allen. There's a Richard Allen Museum in, I think it's Kansas. Have there been any new insights or any kind of new findings or research that have even amplified your understanding as a family of your founding father?
Yes. A few weeks ago, I was contacted from a genealogy researcher, and they wanted my DNA because there's a white family in Canada. They came to Mother Bethel about 35 years ago, said they were descendants of Richard Allen. And what we surmise is that they are descended from John Allen, which is Richard Allen's older brother, and he went into Canada. They did uncover the research on John, Richard Allen's son. He had 4 children. 2 were born in Haiti and 2 were born in Philadelphia. And that was really new information. And then this summer, I was contacted by a researcher in Decorah, Iowa. She was a professor at the Lutheran College there, and she was studying limestone formations. And someone told her that there was a tombstone in the cemetery that they thought was made from this limestone. And it was a tall obelisk tombstone. And when she looked at it, she discovered that there were 2 little boys' names on it, Charlie Kennedy and George Kennedy. We didn't know about these 2 children. They died from tuberculosis. And I think what astounded the researcher was that these black children were buried in a white cemetery, which we all know that black people could not be buried within city limits, much less into a white cemetery. But that confirmed the fact that Richard Allen's granddaughter, Sarah Jane Kennedy, she was 15 years old when she married George Kennedy. He was 19 years old. He was a mulatto. We think he was a runaway slave. So they left Philadelphia, migrated to New York, where their first child was born, who was Catherine Kennedy. And then they moved him to Bangor, Maine, which was the northernmost city to Canada. And then they went toward the westward migration So they became Minnesota Territorial Pioneers. From Minnesota, they went into Iowa, and that's where these children were born. Their one daughter, Lillian, married John R. Hawkins, who was infamous in the AME church because he was the treasurer and secretary of education, I believe. And then Lillian married a lawyer in New York, and she was very active with the NAACP and a social activist. So we're uncovering all this information on the descendants of Richard Allen. But Sarah and George were our great-great-grandparents. So now we discovered 2 more children.
Wow, wow, wow. Dr. Bridget, did you have something you wanted to say? No? So, with this new history that we, are covering, but also there's something about the preservation of this history, and certainly from family, and certainly as we are an institution. And I remember, Ms. Yvonne, when I called you about the President's House.
Yes.
How does this feel, this moment that we are in, that here you are, descendants? There's a different connection versus we as an institution, but to see, okay? So just want to talk, like, what is the feeling? What is the response? What is the call? What is the call to action?
I think we have to realize that our blood, sweat, and tears are ingrained in this country. I think we have to realize that our blood, sweat, and tears are ingrained in this country. Throughout African American history here, Richard Allen, there have been times where we had progress, and times when they're like Reconstruction, where our rights and our options go backwards. And we're in a similar period now with an executive branch that doesn't respect us, doesn't respect our rights. And we have to remember to keep the faith of what Richard Allen and the AME Church presented to us and how they made progress, and we have to continue on with that march.
Yes, in a similar way, if Richard Allen were here today, I feel like he would weep for the soul of the country as we go through this rough time, but he would also, as mentioned, call us to action, bring us forward and say, what are we going to do about it now? And that's what our job is as the constituents of this country at the moment, just to rise to the occasion and present ourselves in our best capacity, help those that need help, and lead by example.
For me, it all goes back to being, I think, proud of your legacy too, and then coming back to the church, coming back to your family, visiting your family, and learning more and more about your history and the history of what's going on. I think it just strengthens what's inside of you, and it helps you to also project outward to others to continue to push that name and that legacy and the pride out to other people so that they are more informed, and it kind of carries on and carries on and carries on.
Thank you. Let me ask on a lighter note. Are there Allen family reunions? Now we're just, and I appreciate it this morning, Miss Yvonne. Richard Allen had 6 children. And we're with the offspring of Mary, right? Okay. So there are 5 other children, right? And how what does that look like? Is this on?
Yeah, boys
All right, well, Peter did not have any children. Research was provided to me several years ago. Peter. All right, how many of you have seen the movies about the Alamo?
The Alamo.
The Alamo, Texas Revolution. Did you know anybody black was killed by Santa Anna? Peter Allen was killed by Santa Ana. And so our researcher contacted me and asked if I had anything that would tie the Peter Allen killed by Santa Ana to Peter Allen, Richard Allen's son.
So wait, let me back this up. So we're saying that Peter left Philadelphia,
Went to Alabama, joined the Texas Revolution,
okay?
and was on his way to the Alamo.
Wow.
And was killed at the Battle of Goliad by Santa Ana. He was a flutist. He was playing his flute.
Wow.
But his will said that his will left his property to his two sisters, Mary and Sarah.
Okay.
Okay, so when he was killed, they went to collect. There's 2,400 acres of land in Texas. And my great-great-great-grandmother's will said the property in Texas is to be sold for the education of her grandchildren. That was the one piece of evidence that they needed that I had.
Wow.
So when I showed them that confirmed that Peter Allen was killed by Santa Ana at the Battle of Goliad.
Wow.
And that money that was used went to the education of my grandmother and her sisters, and they went to the Music Observatory, I think, of Philadelphia and New York.
So it would have been maybe Curtis Institute here was the Music Conservatory, and then New York would have been maybe Juilliard or Manhattan School of Music. Wow.
Yes. And my grandmother went to Kittrell College.
Wow.
But that was just like, everybody keeps saying, do you still have that land? I wish we did.
In Texas. All right, so that's Peter. So what about
Peter. So
Richard?
Peter had no children.
No children,
So
okay.
I did find out just a few weeks ago that John had 4 children. So we need to now trace where those 4 children are. Sarah married Joshua P.B. Eddy, and she had 2 children. Joshua P.B. Eddy was very active at this church. They got a divorce. And I remember that was a big thing in my family because I think somebody in my family wanted to get a divorce, and my grandfather said, nobody in our family's ever gotten a divorce. My grandmother said, oh yes, we have. So Sarah divorced Joshua P.B. Eddy and married the minister at St. Thomas. So that part
St.
of our
Thomas
family
connection,
went to-
okay.
We have some stories.
Oh, there's good.
Yeah, right. Went to St. Thomas. So her 2 children, I don't have any more.
Now Sarah, was she the beautician? Because right here at 6th and Pine, I think in Bishop Allen's will, there was, we talked about this property. It went up for sale a couple months ago now. And I believe she was a beautician. She ran a beauty salon, a parlor in her basement. And it would also house persons who were coming to the colored convention. So that's that same Sarah?
Also, Sarah Jane Kennedy in Decorah, Iowa did the same thing. So I think beauticians and barbers, Nicole was researching, to have a really important job in the Underground Railroad, which would make sense because the social conversations went through the barbershops,
Right.
the beauty salons, and they would help escaped slaves get to freedom.
So we have Peter, no children.
John had 4. Richard, the oldest son, had children, but they died at a young age.
Oh, wow, Richard Jr.
But there are other descendants here in Philadelphia, but the Howards, Humbert Howard, who was an infamous artist here, he had a son, and they had children, and their grandchildren there, and then there's the King family.
And did we cover all? Yes, we have all 6. Yes, okay. But so in addition to this, do you at all ever are in touch with the ones that are identified or descendants?
Well, my grandmother's sister, Irene, have children that live in California. And we keep in touch with them all the time. And then I have 2 other cousins that contact me, and then I send them information that I don't always hear back from them.
Well, let's take a few questions. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Harold.
Good morning. Come down. It is a blessing to be the company of this family. And many of us went to HBCU. And it's rare because the company family that has a university named after it, Allen University. So my question to you is there any relationship that you all have with Allen University?
Not that I know of.
Morris Brown College invited me there to accept an honorary doctorate degree for Richard Allen. That was when, I don't remember who was minister here at that time. It might have been Bishop Lee who was minister at that time. But I've been to Allen University, but no other contact.
Hey, follow, I am the past trustee of North Carolina Central University, and part of our congregation every year we bring Yes, sir. I am the past trustee of North Carolina Central University, and we every year bring back the Shepherd family, and it's a big deal. I just think it's a lost opportunity for Allen University not to be connected. So I'm going to get our pastor to give the bishop an assignment.
That's another district. That's the 7th Episcopal District, but we can.
I can tell you, that is a lost opportunity for Allen. And we need to make that happen while we're there.
Yes. And I appreciate the indulgence of the congregation of the pastor, because this is a big deal. To be able to have the family of a founding father of America, and it's not based on legend or, we have facts, right? We have stuff, right? And so I believe as long as I am allowed to be the pastor, that this should be something in stone, that the Allen family comes to Mother Bethel at least once a year in a formal way. I think that's because the other piece that I haven't shared this, but I'll say this publicly, this could be a different type of relationship between the offspring and an institution. This family allows us to use Bishop Allen's likeness, his writing labors, his name, and they have every right to say, you have to come to us first. Because this is their bloodline, okay? And it also amplifies the work that we do as a Historical Society Commission, as members. We are the final resting place. I know what it feels like when I go home to my father's grave, it's his gravesite. But to know that we have the final resting place, that's huge. They have to call us to come see Richard Allen. Think about that. They got to bring the phone. Can we come by to see Bishop Richard and Mother Sarah? Okay. Now, Bishop Morris Brown, and I'll share this. We recently, the newly elected Lieutenant Governor Dale Caldwell of New Jersey is a descendant of Bishop Morris Brown. So we've just made that connection. So prayerfully we'll be having him come here to Mother Bethel. But again, this is huge. Also we think about other, Absalom Jones, there's some that say, but I don't think there's the level of, that we have here, or other greats, right? So we are, there's something very amazing about Mother Bethel and about this legacy. And so we thank you for allowing us. And so that's why you are our guest of honor, okay? Because so just wanted to put that out there. But any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Harold. Yes, Miss Jan, and then I have Sister Tiffany. Oh, I'm sorry. Judge, and then I'll come around. Yes, Judge. I'm sorry, because she had the mic, and we'll bring her right over. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Hello? Yes. First, I want to thank you all for coming here. This is a wonderful program. It's so insightful. It's engaging. It's unique. I'm relatively new to Mother Bethel, and I want to first mention my son. When he was in 5th grade, he did a report on Richard Allen for AME Church. which is amazing that this is who we research, your descendants. Two things I want to say. Number one, is it possible that we could get an updated family chart?
Like a family tree?
Family tree, yeah. And we're working on it. Okay, I think that would be awesome, because when you were recounting all the details of everyone, it was hard to, yeah. I think it'd be great if you could provide that. My apologies, Pastor.
Well, it's their family tree.
Okay.
So if they allow, but again, it's not, no, but again, Judge, it's nice of them to share with us their history. I mean, and to make it public consumption. I mean, that's so if they will allow, certainly we will definitely make that available. And your next question.
My final question, it's not even a question, it's a comment. I would suggest to you that you seek out the help of Henry Louis Gates on finding your roots. I think this would be a great...
I did.
Oh, you did?
I did. And I've asked someone to help for him to research for us, but he hasn't. But I met him in Atlanta. My husband and I, my Aunt Catherine, he was there signing his book. And then he turned and he told my husband, you know you're married to black royalty. My husband said, please don't tell her that. But I wish he would. I really wish he would, because there's just so many missing gaps that could be filled with his team of researchers.
Thank you for that, Judge. We have Sister Jan, then Sister Tiffany, and then we'll come over to Sister Karen. Sister Jan? Oh,
I am so honored. Can you hear Jan? That on? My name is Jan Ellis Gross. I was married in this church 55 years ago with my husband. My grandmother is a member of this church. I'm still searching for all of that correct and authentic information, but I think at least 90 to 100 years ago, we've been members of this church. I've been a member here for more than 65 years. And I've had the privilege, I mean a really serious privilege, many of the pastors, Bishop Lee, Reverend Tyler, and now Reverend Cavanis, to assign me the service and duty of researching your family and your history. And let me tell you, every time I get that opportunity to delve into this illustrious history and the magnificence of the legacy, I am touched, I am honored, and I am one privileged woman. In addition to that, I spoke to you and I told you I was a graduate of Cheney University, and you said you were too. And I've had now bookends in my life. I have the Allen family, and I am the proud proprietor of the Department of Theater Arts at Cheney University, which I am now retired, who the King family, I got to know Coretta Scott King and her sister, Mrs. Edith Scott Bagley, who founded the program there. So my stories to my children, my grandchildren, and now we are first great-grandchild being born. I feel just so, the word blessed is overused. I wish we could come up as an African linguist and find another word to say how grateful and privileged I am to have the opportunity to study your family and then to present them in plays that I never thought, I'm an actor, but I never thought I'd have the opportunity to write about your family. And I just want to say thank you, and thank you, Reverend Cavanis, for giving me those opportunities. And I just feel so honored to have you in front of us today.
Sister Tiffany?
Hello, my name is Tiffany Johnson Williams, and this is Trinity Williams. And we recently got a chance to go to Atlanta, Georgia, and took a Black History tour. And we were wondering if you had any affiliation with Big Bethel Church, and what is your family continuing to do in the community so that everyone can really know about the what you're at.
I actually was a member of Big Bethel for a period of time. I lived right outside of Atlanta when I first moved to Georgia. So I'm a little bit further away now, but I was a member at Big Bethel for several years.
And I travel around to schools and churches around the country, speaking on the legacy of Richard Allen and Sarah Allen.
And just to clarify, so Big Bethel, so what happens, we're the mother church. And what happens as the church expanded, there are, if you will, churches that become kind of mother church, little mother churches in different areas. So Mother Emmanuel, okay, Big Bethel, that's Sweet Auburn Avenue, right? That was okay. We think about St. James Church. That's the mother church of the Deep South. We think about First AME Church in Los Angeles. Okay, so first making that way west. But there's no one that comes. There's only one mother, and we have a debt of gratitude. Judge Bright has left. Anybody know the year when Mother Bethel became Mother Bethel? 1952. Okay, when it was incorporated, where mother was added. The original name, when it was deeded, was African Methodist Episcopal Church of the City of Philadelphia. Now that's making a big statement. Okay, and it would be over time, to be sure that no one else, because we do have that kind of debate, right, Brother Crawford, with Bethel, Baltimore, who is the real first? We are the real first. And so thus, Bishop Bright, Pastor Bright, okay, and that was the year wherein women were given full voting rights and membership into Mother Bethel. So Judge Gwen Bright's father, okay, we owe a debt of gratitude. So that's why to make that distinction as being the mother church of the denomination and the denominational seat. And now who's next? I think Sister Wanda? No, Sister Karen. Something that Brother Crawford and I talk much about is that we have to also think about that the local church and the denomination were all intertangled. Okay? Remember, Bishop Allen was the pastor and the bishop. Okay? So what was emerging, this was all kind of crinkled together, and it's over time where things get separated out. But there's still something about, this is still the denominational seat. Right, this is still where it all began. Sister Karen, and we want to give a shout out to Sister Karen. She's the president of ASALA, the Association of the Study of African Americans. Yes, Carter G. Woodson, and we celebrate 100 years of Black History Month. All right, which we know is every day. Come on, Sister Karen, and then Sister Wanda.
I don't have a mic, but hopefully everybody can.
You're a school teacher.
My question to you is, first of all, I'm in awe of that you're here and you're sharing your story. The ASALA organization is all about preserving history and then disseminate that to the global community as well. And some of the things that you're doing is that, preserving it. And I just wanted to talk about how do you think
organizations or history organizations like ASALA or like someone mentioned earlier, the HBCs can continue to help with that preserving of the story, like getting to know the genealogy, being able to tell the story. You sit up there and be able to brag on all these facts about your families and who had who and things of that nature, but a lot of people cannot. And so I wanted to know what type of encouragement you had and what we could do as a national organization to support the preserving of our own histories and stories.
I think it's really important that families document and record and tell the stories of their ancestors. I remember when we were really young, some people, they just didn't want to tell the story. It was just too hurtful to pass it on. Luckily, our family was able to pass it on, but there's some things that we did lose. But John R. Hawkins, I think, was the second vice president of ASALA.
Yes.
I'm a member of ASALA in Athens. And because I believe in preserving and teaching our history. But I just think that you could start with your grandchildren and tell them, this is who you are. These are your parents. These are your grandparents. I remember when we started dating, my sister and I would say, you know, Mom and Dad are going to give this guy the 3rd degree. You know, because your parents would have, well, who are your people? Yeah. Where do they live?
That's right.
Because with black people, you know, you could be marrying your cousin and not even know it if you don't tell the story. So they would always do the 3rd degree, and I didn't understand that as a young child, but I got it now.
Sister Wanda. Go ahead, Sister Tasia, and then Sister Wanda. Okay.
Hi, my name is Tasia Hill, and thank you all for making the journey to come here. One thing I did want to say, based off the things that you've all mentioned as far as, I agree, like in my own way, I didn't have a profound awareness of the lives that my family members lived as a child. My double great-grandmother lived until I was 14.
And so as a child, I didn't think to ask her specific questions about the life that she lived and then members of our family. So one of my questions is, what questions do you wish you could have asked your parents or grandparents while they were still living?
Great. What's a double grandmother?
Double great.
Oh,
So,
double great. Wow. Oh, great. Oh, okay. Got it.
And then she was also to also share just a little bit about her, my great-great-grandma Mary Lou, her parents were enslaved, she was enslaved, and then was granted her freedom.
In some capacity, but was a sharecropper for some time. And her husband built their house when he was 17, so we had the property for a long time. And I remember going and visiting there as a kid, being like, man, we're about to have to walk a mile to use the bathroom, at the outhouse. And so that was my thoughts, but no one really shared how important it was for us to be able to go to her home and be able to experience a place that was their own and that was built by someone. So I was just wondering if you all had any revelations that was similar to that.
Any questions you would ask? Any question? No, that you would ask of an ancestor or any? No question you would ask?
I just wanted to respond to that. I know there's a house on Spruce Street that Richard Allen used to own, at least the property. And we've always had the interest of wanting to go back and see that house and, maybe get that house back into the family. But I think it was on sale last year or something.
It's 414 Spruce Street. Catherine and I went to visit there. And there's a family living there, and they said that they did not want a marker on the outside of the house, but they would be willing to put one on the inside of the house. But I would love to have a marker placed on the outside of the house. There are several pieces of property that were owned by Richard Allen right downtown. I guess I would like to ask some of my ancestors, their hope for the future. Because sometimes, you get a little depressed when you hear the news nowadays, and I have to think back to how would my ancestors react to what's going on today. And I know Richard Allen probably would have picked up a pen by now. He would be writing something to someone about what's going on. I wish that there was something that we could do as a body, a strong, forceful body, because they cannot erase our history.
No, we're not
We
gonna let it
built this country. We built the White House that he's living in, which he probably changed the toilets after Obama was here. I'm sorry.
No, you're right, though. We did.
he's tearing down parts of the White House. But we just can't let him erase our history.
I would ask my grandfather, where can I get the patience to deal with somebody like Trump? That's what I ask. Where did he get the patience to make it through so I can have some more tolerance of what's happening? But we don't want too much tolerance.
I think we also have to recognize there would be intense pride.
Just keep it on.
There would be intense, we have to recognize that there would be intense pride. The time when the Obamas were in the White House and that we were able to get them into the presidency. We have to recognize that Trump being in the White House is also a product of being successful in getting Obama there. So Trump is a reaction to Obama. So we can't forget that, and we can't let him tear down everything that's been accomplished.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Sister Wanda, and then we have Sister Bertha Jackman and Sister Sharon.
I think Craig wanted to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Craig. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about, I would ask them what kept you going. Where was your motivation? What was your inspiration? I would assume it was family. It was knowing that brighter days are ahead. But just how did you persevere? Persevere, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, we are blessed with a lot in our lives. We have technology. We have like heightened financial success these days. But back then, it was different. You had to work with so much less and do so much more. And I just want to know from them, several generations past, how did you do it? And what I would ask them, what would you tell me or your future self to get you through the tough times? Because they happen, and we're fortunate to be able to be in better times today. And even through this adversity, we have to look forward to the better times.
Thank you. Sister Wanda?
Good afternoon, and thank you again for coming. And I also want to thank our pastor and Professor Jan Ellis Scruggs. She's also the director of the Mother Bethel Players. And I too am someone who has a history in this church, even downstairs on the wall. And it's so important, and that's one of the reasons that I'm dressed in a period wardrobe, because the pastor wants to make sure that it's always represented, and Professor Ellis Scruggs want to make sure that we represent well. And I have, my comment and question is sort of what the young lady from the South, Ms. Karen, said, as well as Trina said, and even going back to what Harold F. said. When we talk about this education and continuing the story of Richard Allen, have you considered or thought about maybe putting together or writing a curriculum for the teaching of Richard Allen? And then you can start with the dissemination through the AME church. That will probably be the easiest. And then through organizations as well as through schools, because there's an effort right here in Philadelphia with some organizations or families that are working on getting curriculums in school. And one of them is Joe Frazier. His daughter, Judge Jacqueline Frazier, happens to be my boss. So that's one of the things. And she's real big on education and resources. She provides a lot of it in the courts.
We do have a presentation that on the history of the AME Church, Richard Allen, and photographs of the descendants of Richard Allen. So we have my daughter and I, we do a AME DNA presentation that goes into the family and then into the history of the AME Church. But as far as writing it down, I haven't. A lot of people come up with some books that are really good, and part of our process is to disseminate information on resources about Richard and Sarah Allen. But that's, a good idea for the curriculum.
Thank you. Sister Sister Bertha Jackman, and then Sister Sharon Gary Dixon. And then we'll have a final question from Sister Mobley in the back. Sister Bertha, and this is Sister Bertha Jackman. She's a member of our church, Mount Zion AME Church in Devon. She's their historian, and she also has placed that congregation on the Pennsylvania register, right? National register. Let's give it up for Sister Bertha Jackman. And she's also working with me on a church that disappeared called Little Shiloh AME Church, 1817, and we are certain that Bishop Allen helped to organize it, Reverend Jarena Lee preached there, Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, and somehow the congregation just disappeared. So we're working together on putting some unction behind and so that congregation and that locale in Westchester County is never forgotten. Chester County. So Sister Bertha?
Yes, hello, thank you very much. And I'm just standing here shaking because I'm honored to see and hear the descendants of Bishop Richard Allen. Anyway, I'm not going to do it. But my question is, we know, and there's some documentation that the bishop used to deliver food or something to Valley Forge, to George Washington during his encampment. But we don't know what it actually was that he delivered. There was just a basic mention that he delivered something out there, but we want to know, we would like to know what that something was.
What was told to me that he delivered religious reading materials to Valley Forge. So that's probably true. In my speaking engagements, I spoke at a white Methodist church. Well, the women there insisted that I try to become a member of DAR. So I contacted my Aunt Catherine, who was working in the archives here. I said, I need a preponderance of evidence to document my line of descent to Richard Allen. Even though I know it, I just want it in writing. So we compiled all this information. We sent it to DAR, and they refused to believe that Richard Allen served in the American Revolution because he was not on the muster list. I said he was a non-combatant. I said, we don't know if he did it under the name Richard Allen, but we know he got paid for hauling salt toward George Washington's troops, and we know that he delivered religious reading materials to George Washington's troops. And if he was going to serve for the British, he would have left with the British, and he wouldn't have written a eulogy for George Washington. Now, what more do they need? I don't know.
Thank you.
But that's what we have.
Thank you, Sister Bertha. Sister Sharon, and then we'll end with Sister Chrissy.
Hi, this isn't a question, but it's a comment. Being here my entire life, and I'm just sitting here as we close out, and I'm reminiscing and thinking of all the old saints that are no longer with us, that their whole life's mission, even if they weren't with the Historical Society, was preserving the history of Mother Bethel. It was I keep hearing the word a big deal. It was a big deal to those people all those years ago, my mother included. My mother wanted to become a teacher, did not have the opportunity because couldn't go to college. Because I was for black people or colored people at that time. So she saw to it that her children were educated. And I'm thinking not just of my mom and all of our mothers here, but the people that paved that way that was such an influence. And they spoke so highly of Richard and Sarah Allen. Richard and Sarah Allen. It was ingrained. So I'm closing it to say that this has been an honor and a privilege. An honor and a privilege to have you give this. This is oral history. I don't have to turn to the encyclopedia or go on Google. I have you all, and Pastor administrator, all of us Mother Bethel people, we have you here with us. And for younger people, the children that are here in the audience, this is important to them. It's important because when we leave here, they have to carry on. As was told to me when I was a child, when I'm no longer here, you gotta carry on.
That's the only place we learn Black history. They didn't teach it at Yaden Elementary or Yaden High School at all.
They certainly did.
So thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Sister Christy, this is our last, and then I'm going to ask us, Sister Christy, you all can just give us a last word. Everyone just have a last word or something you'd like to share as we close out this our time together.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to say very quickly, my name is Cheryl Simpson. I was so encouraged this morning listening, hearing about the 8th and 9th generation of this family. I am 4th generation in South Philadelphia. Raised a 5th. My family's been here since the late 1800s, early 1900s, and I'm actually a product of W.E.B. Du Bois's efforts here in Philadelphia. He encouraged or convinced my mother's grandfather to send her to college, and she actually went to Cheney. And I was trying to connect up. I'm a former soloist, so Cheney's concert choir, so it's good to make these Cheney connections here. Also connected to FAMU, used to work there, and with Jackie Wiggins, who's with the SALA. We were with the Woodrow Wilson National Fellowship Foundation working there. And so what came to my mind is the fact that we are all so connected, right? Across the board, across the continuum. And I think as people are throwing ideas out, to you, Reverend Candace,
To me, no, to everybody. No, in fact, because you're making the idea, you're the one that's got to lead the charge.
And you know what? And I'm more than happy to, because since
depends on what it is.
Yeah, well, since I'm in South Philadelphia, and I'm actually working on a project about the hidden history of South Philly. You know, South Philly was a hub for Black folk. Great migration. This is where we came first, and our history gets so hidden up under, when they talk about South Philly, they want to talk about the Italians first, right? Yeah. And this fictional character, Rocky, and the Irish, and our people, and especially our children, have suffered as a result because they don't know. They don't know this greatness that we have here. I'm a Baptist. I feel like I'm a member of Mother Bethel when I come here because I sang on the choir here, but I'm interested in the intersection of denominations. I was very, caught my attention when you mentioned that there was a Baptist minister that actually did research or wrote about Richard Allen in a book. I don't know if it was one of the books that was mentioned here, but when you look at all of our actions here, down through, even with the Fortons, right? Coming all the way out of the 1800s, all the way through, there's so much richness here. So I think that there may be an opportunity to plant a seed here to kind of grow something like that sprouts out from the semi-quincentennial. I would say semi-quincentennial. Okay, especially as it relates to Black folk, with Mother Bethel being like a hub, for writing, for research, for undergraduate students, for other folk, nonprofits. I just want to throw that out there, and I'm more than happy to be involved in that. Absolutely, help to the work.
And just to make a plug, on Sunday, February
22nd, we will be here with St. Thomas. And the focus of that conversation is lifting up Black faith in the colonial revolutionary period. So we think about the chronology of the country, 1776, 1787. We have St. Thomas is 1792. Yellow Fever is 1793. Mother Bethel is 1794. Emerging are 5 Black congregations: Presbyterian, and you have First African Baptist, but the mothers of those of Black religious expression
right, Episcopal Church of African Episcopal Church of St. Thomas, and Mother Bethel. And remember, this is what? Ward 7. This is the capital of Black America, is what? Right here. Okay? So that conversation on the fourth Sunday is right on the street that you're in, and the distinction that we have is what? We are still here. St. Thomas is up the road, no offense, right? First African is now where? They're at 60, they're on Haverford and 65th, right? You have First African Presbyterian, they have now all merged into New River at 42nd and Girard. We are the only institution that is what? Still here. And so that's a lot to celebrate right there too. So yeah, so let's continue this conversation and then go from it.
Make this point that I'm also part of the group that started Black Outreach Road in South Philadelphia.
Oh wow! Sure.
So there's so much here, and unfortunately, the AKAs are going to be in Boston. That I was so disappointed to hear that.
Well, I think you have to cancel your plans.
I am a 60th member.
Oh, okay.
That's a big deal.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Well, I'm excited about what you're doing here. This is excellent.
Thank you.
It's really, the information is getting out, and it's touching a lot of schools, a lot of hearts. We're encouraged and motivated, and we want to be helpful. And I really enjoyed listening to all of this.
Amen. So let's have our last words. Let's give it up for the Descendants, and we're going to ask them just to give us your final word. Anything you'd like to share? Dr. Richard?
I think Richard Allen was a man of extreme perseverance. Was able to build this church, build the civil rights movement, and make something that impacts both the United States, Caribbean, and Africa.
And as part of his legacy is service to the African American community in Philadelphia, which spread throughout the United States and around the world, and served as a beacon of hope, inspiration, motivation for many people in the world for many, many years.
Thank you.
I'd just like to expand on what you said. We're still here, and we're going to be here.
Richard Allen was a visionary. He loved God, and he loved God's people, and that's what we need to continue to do.
Historical Society take a picture about the foundation and how we as a people, this is our foundation, and the people out in the United States and around the world can't take our foundation away from us, because this is where we belong.
I was thinking about like the inspiration behind the legacy, the way we treat other people because of how we were taught to treat other people, the way we represent ourselves by way of our families and by way of our people that we surround ourselves with. And that all came back to how thankful I am today for being here with this beautiful group of people in this beautiful building and this beautiful heritage of this whole entire organization.
As a little girl, to walk through these halls and look at the wall of bishops, these are the most handsome, well-educated, distinguished men in United States history. How privileged you are to be able to look at this every week.
And Trump can't take that down.
We know who to call. We're going to call Mr. Harris. Let's give it up for the Allen Descendants. We thank God for you. Our Sister Ann has a closing word. We're going to ask Allen or Seagull, if you just wouldn't mind coming up to the stage, we're going to take the good shot this way.
Turn me around, I just keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on the freedom line. Ain't gonna let nobody, can't let them turn me around, Lord, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, I just keep on walking, oh, I keep on marching on the freedom land. I can't let segregation turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let segregation turn me around. I just keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on the freedom land. Ain't gonna let no jailhouse, can't let it turn me around, Lord, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no jailhouse turn me around. I just keep on walking, keep on talking, 'cause I'm marching on the freedom land. Ain't gonna let no dogs lost, can't let it turn me around, Lord, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no dogs lost. Well, I just keep on, you know I keep on, because I'm marching on the freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody, can't let them turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody, well, I just keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on the freedom land.
You gotta wait in the water, God's gonna trouble the water. Well, now you see those children all dressed up in white. God's gonna trouble the water. You know they must be the children of the Israelites. God's gonna trouble the water. Well, now you wanna wait in the water. Wait in the water, children. Wait on it in the water. I'm telling you, God's gonna trouble the water. See those children dressed in black. God's gonna trouble the water. They come a long way, ain't turning back. No, no, no.
See the children, they're dressed up in blue. You know my God's gonna trouble the water. Yeah. See, it looks like my people, they're coming on through. Well, my God's gonna trouble the water.